And away we go, episode 1157 of the Al Galdi podcast. It is Wednesday, September 17th, 2025. It is the day on which the Commanders' first injury report for their game against the Las Vegas Raiders at Northwest Stadium this Sunday afternoon at 1 comes out. And there is a whole lot of intrigue with this injury report. What will the status of quarterback Jayden Daniels be given the knee injury that he suffered in the Commanders' 27-18 loss at the Green Bay Packers on Thursday Night Football this past Thursday night? What about the many other Commanders players who got hurt in that game? We did not want it to be that this soon into the Commanders' 2025 regular season we had big-time intrigue with an injury report, but here we are, week 3, and this injury report that's coming out on Wednesday afternoon is a big deal. Hello and welcome to this Wednesday installment of the Al Galdi podcast. The Commanders on Tuesday conducted tryouts for multiple players, principal among them, former Redskins edge defender Preston Smith. On Monday's show, episode 1155, during our conversation with Commanders analyst Mark Bullock mentioned Smith being an unrestricted free agent as we discussed how the team will replace edge defender Dietrich Wise Jr., who's done for the season due to a quadriceps injury that he suffered in the loss at the Packers. Next segment, Mark Bullock of Bullock's Film Room, which you can find at markbullock.substack.com. He is back on the show to discuss Jayden Daniels and also receiver Terry McLaurin. High-level, all-22 style analysis of how Daniels has played over the team's first 2 games of this regular season and why McLaurin has such underwhelming stats over these 2 games. The truth about Daniels and the truth about McLaurin coming up next segment. And also on the show, I'll talk Nationals and Orioles. The Nats, they on Tuesday got swept in a doubleheader against the Atlanta Braves at Nationals Park. Tuesday afternoon, a 6-3 loss to the Braves. Tuesday night, a 5-0 10-inning loss to the Braves in a game for which the start was delayed for 2 hours due to rain. Also, a candidate to be the Nats' next head of baseball operations now reportedly is out of the running for that job. The O's, they on Tuesday night won at the American League worst Chicago White Sox 8-7. You can hit me up on X at Al Galdi. You can email me the Al Galdi podcast at yahoo.com. Feedback on the Commanders off their loss at the Packers from Walter on X. Writes Walter, "Hey Al, that Packers game was a throwback to the Eagles' body bag game." Thank you for that, Walter. With all of the injuries suffered by the Commanders this past Thursday night, that game did feel like the body bag game. The body bag game, November 12th, 1990, a 28-14 loss for the Redskins at the Philadelphia Eagles on Monday Night Football. But never forget the epilogue. January 5th, 1991, the Skins won at the Eagles 26 in a wild card round playoff game. The Skins, less than 2 months after the body bag game at the Eagles, won a playoff game at the Eagles. Perhaps the Commanders will win a game at the Packers this coming NFL postseason. Who knows? Email from Brian Young. Writes Brian, "Al, all of the great teams overcome setbacks, injuries, poor performance, and other issues. We need to continue to adopt a winning culture to rise above these things, much like Kansas City and New England have done. We have all of the pieces. Now we need the mentality to kick in. Cheers to the best pod in the area." Thank you very much for that, Brian. And how the 1990 Skins responded to the body bag game is a perfect example of what Brian wrote about. And in that spirit, here is some classic NFL films. This is from NFL Films Video Yearbook on the 1990 Skins. This part is about that playoff win at the Eagles.
Over the past few seasons, the Redskins-Eagles rivalry has grown into one of football's finest. They are 2 teams very much on a par when it comes to talent, yet neither team can rely on talent alone to win.
All about pride, baby. All day. It's all about pride.
Pride was the motivating factor for the Redskins. They didn't forget the beating they took from the Eagles in November. Now, in January, when it mattered most, it was time for Redskins style to shine.
Action fake again by Rippon. Good protection. Lobs it in the end zone for Monk. Jumping, catching, touchdown, Washington Redskins.
Yeah, baby!
Yeah, the Skins got the last laugh on the Eagles in that 1990 season. Email from Dr. George Verghese, writes the doctor. I'm just a layperson doctor, but if there was a ferocious pass rush, where were the quick game slants and screens? Where was the no-huddle offense we used in Detroit to tire out the defense? Should have been plenty of Debo and McLaurin. Definitely not enough of the running game. Where was C-Rod, though he'll be here going forward? Where were the creative plays to scheme folks open? Jet sweeps with Debo. That was a complete F for Cliff. Joe Witt, not as bad. D, complete coaching failure that falls on DQ, but maybe because of the short week and no time. I have a feeling Mike McDaniel will be the OC next year, better OC than head coach when Cliff leaves. So thank you for the email, Dr. Verghese. As we discussed on this past Friday's show, episode 1154, and on Monday's show, episode 1155, coaching very much failed the Commanders in the loss at the Packers, no doubt. And what Mark Bullock said on Monday's show is exactly what Dr. Verghese wrote in that email. Offensive coordinator Cliff Kingsbury had a really bad game. Defensive coordinator Joe Witt Jr. had a bad game, though not as bad as Kingsbury had. I'm a big Cliff Kingsbury fan. Thursday night was a bad night for our guy Cliff. But here's the other thing. The Commanders need to play better. The team over the first two games of this regular season has had some missed opportunities on offense, whether you're talking about penalties or drops by pass catchers or inaccuracy by Jayden Daniels or Daniels making the wrong read on a read option run. Things too often have been off. We, during head coach Dan Quinn's press conference on Monday afternoon, had this exchange between Donna Hopkins of Pro Football Plus and Quinn.
What are you seeing as far as the execution on offense? Jayden talked a little bit about that after the game, that nobody executed really well on offense. So what are you seeing there?
Yeah, I wish it was all just one thing. And I got to do this also. I don't like to, but you also got to give credit to Green Bay and their defense. They were disruptive. They played well. And that also created some of the, not execution at the level that we want to. So we have a good system. We know it inside out, and we've got to make sure, on the plays that we need to make, and we go make them. And whether that's a catch and run play, a shot down the field that gets blocked up, hitting our marks in the run game, having balance, those are the things that I want to see us do better. Didn't love seeing us start slowly. Obviously, we got in a hole where it was, I'm not sure, either 14-0 or 14-3. And I love that we stayed in the fight, even though it felt worse than that. But when those times come, we got to go, even it didn't go as well. Now we go get back in the fight and go do it. So those are those moments. We got to find our ways to go nail it in those times. So some of that's execution. Some of that's making sure we, eliminate, things that jamming us up, a sack on an early down, a penalty that goes from second down to, a longer second down. Those are some things that I want to make sure we address them. And like we said on the Tell the Truth Monday, you tell it, you receive it, and now you apply it. And I want to see it get applied.
And we'll see if that truth gets applied when the Commanders face the Raiders this Sunday afternoon. All right, football and food. Two beautiful things, right? They go so well together. Well, as football season is underway, now is the perfect time to get yourself or someone who you care about Omaha Steaks. And here is a great deal for listeners of the Al Galdi podcast. Visit omahasteaks.com for 50% off site-wide during Omaha Steaks' Red Hot Sale event. And for an extra $35 off, use the promo code ALGALDI at checkout. Omaha Steaks delivers the world's best steak experience. Enjoy USDA-certified tender steaks, juicy burgers, cozy and convenient comfort meals like chicken and pork, plus tailgating favorites like chicken wings, smash burgers, and big deli-style franks. Also, Omaha Steaks offers great desserts. I love Omaha Steaks food. My wife and kids love Omaha Steaks food. There's no risk. Every bite is backed by a 100% guarantee. And you're supporting one of this country's great companies. Omaha Steaks is a family-owned company that has been America's original butcher since 1917. Treat yourself and your family or someone who you care about to Omaha Steaks and take advantage of the great deal for listeners of the Al Galdi podcast. Go to omahasteaks.com for 50% off site-wide during Omaha Steaks' Red Hot Sale event. And for an extra $35 off, use the promo code ALGALDI at checkout. That's 50% off at omahasteaks.com and an extra $35 off with the promo code ALGALDI at checkout. See site for details. If you are listening to this podcast via Apple Podcasts or Spotify, you can rate the podcast with a star rating. 5-star ratings are greatly appreciated. They help us out a lot. Thank you for doing them. Will the Commanders' QB1, Jayden Daniels, play in the team's game against the Las Vegas Raiders at Northwest Stadium this Sunday afternoon at 1? He suffered a knee injury in the fourth quarter of the Commanders' 27-18 loss at the Green Bay Packers on Thursday Night Football this past Thursday night. You know that he wants to play this Sunday afternoon, but should he play this Sunday afternoon? My take, unless Daniels is at or near 100% health, he should not play this Sunday afternoon. Let this be a Marcus Mariota game. He did so well as the Commanders' QB2 last season. The Raiders are a very beatable opponent. Now, we can't assume victory, but the Raiders on paper are a very beatable opponent. The Commanders have a big-time rest advantage with this game and having last played last Thursday night, and the Raiders having last played late night on Monday night, and the Raiders have to travel for this game. Here were NFL insiders Tom Pelissero and Mike Garafolo of NFL Network on NFL Network's The Insiders on Tuesday on the Jayden Daniels situation.
Jayden Daniels dealing with this knee injury. Where exactly do we stand now, 5 days from kickoff of their next game?
Yes, and I'm going to echo what Ian has since said and since reported, which is that he wouldn't be surprised if Jayden Daniels misses a game here, because you're talking about a young, sensational quarterback, and movement is a part of what he does. Could you potentially put him in a situation where he's not moving as well as can be and basically sets himself up to take another hit like this or another hit to another part of the body there? Nobody's ruling him out, right? Nobody is saying for sure he is not going to play against the Raiders. But it seems to be a lot of folks speaking about the possibility of erring toward the side of caution when it comes to Jayden Daniels, which would mean Marcus Mariota, a guy that you feel good about, a veteran presence, could step in for a game here. Marcus Mariota revenge game. How about Mariota and Carson Wentz all of a sudden potentially starting games in the same week here? But I would say when the Commanders return to practice, if Jayden Daniels is not practicing, or at least not practicing fully, would not be surprised to see that at all. So we'll see as the week goes on. As of now, I'm with Ian, kind of leaning towards the no side.
All right. And, of course, if you're the Commanders, there's no reason to make public whether Jayden Daniels will play against the Raiders this Sunday afternoon until Sunday afternoon. Keep the Raiders guessing. During Commanders head coach Dan Quinn's press conference on Monday afternoon, had this exchange between Commanders insider J.P. Finley of NBC4 and Quinn.
Hey, Dan, you've talked in the past about having to protect players from themselves.
Yep.
With a guy like Jayden and his competitive drive, how hard is that to balance what I'm guessing he's going to want versus what you guys have to look at kind of long term?
Yes, you are correct. That's just who he is, which I also love about him, by the way. But it is that's my job, to make sure that, one, I'm getting all the information, from the medical side. Is he hitting all the tests? And then you also have to trust your eyes. Where's he at? Where are we going? And so we're just not going to miss it, JP, for he and for any of the guys in that space. So that is the good part of being a competitor. But I'm constantly watching and pushing to see. And then before we even get onto the practice field, they have to go through a pretty strenuous testing to see where they're at even before the actual on-field, reps begin. So that's for he and for a couple of the other guys as well.
Okay, and we later during Dan Quinn's press conference on Monday afternoon had this exchange between 7 News DC sports director Scott Abraham and Quinn.
Hey, Dan, piggybacking off of JP's first question with Jayden, obviously you've had some conversations over the last couple of days with Jayden. What's his demeanor been like dealing with this injury?
I think more than anything, just like this is a real competitor, Scott. So you want to make sure where's he at and what's he got to do to get himself back and hit all the marks that he needs to hit. Probably more conversations, not injury related, to be honest with you, like performance and the things we need to do better. And so that's more of what we, spend our time on. And for us, that tell the truth process, you got to tell it, you got to receive it, you got to apply it. So we spent probably as much time on that as we did on the injury side of things.
And that's the thing. Jayden Daniels has had an uneven start to his 2025 regular season. Just look at his Pro Football Focus grades. So the grades are on a scale of 0 to 100. 60 is average. The 21-6 win over the New York Giants at Northwest Stadium on September 7th. Daniels for that game had an overall grade per PFF of 83.9. That's very good. But the loss at the Packers, Daniels for the game had an overall grade per PFF of just 56.1. That's not good. That's very non-Jayden Daniels-like. I'm very pleased to welcome back to the Al Galdi podcast Commanders analyst Mark Bullock. Mark joined us on Monday's show, episode 1155, to discuss, among other items, the extent to which coaching failed the Commanders in their loss at the Packers. And now he's back with us to talk Jayden Daniels and also receiver Terry McLaurin. Mark is exceptional at talking Commanders from an X's and O's standpoint. He does tremendous Commanders All-22 breakdowns. You can read his work on his Substack, Bullock's Film Room, which you can find at markbullock.substack.com. Mark has written for The Athletic and for The Washington Post. He also is a Commanders fan. You could follow Mark on X at Mark Bullock NFL. Hey, Mark, how are you?
I'm doing pretty well, thanks. How about you?
Doing well. You on your Substack have two very interesting pieces on Jayden Daniels, September 9th. Headline, quote, Jayden Daniels sloppy in win over Giants, end quote. September 13th, headline, quote, Jayden Daniels struggles in loss to Packers, end quote. How do you assess Daniels over the Commanders' first two games in the NFL's 2025 regular season?
Very simply not up to his standard, which was obviously very high last year, and it grew particularly high towards the end of last year. But I would say it kind of mirrors where he was at the start of last year in terms of, like, last year they got beaten pretty strongly by the Bucs in the opening game, and he looked a little bit skittish and unsure of himself and a little bit off. And then they had the Giants game, it was a week 2 last year, which he got sacked a bunch and still didn't look great, but managed to pull through and they got the win. And then they started to build through the first few weeks of the season, and then he got more comfortable and started to look a lot better. And obviously in week 3 against the Bengals, he had that breakout performance where he suddenly looked like he was the guy. And I think you can kind of see a little bit of resemblance of that, where week 1, you could see there was some rust. You could see, he didn't actually throw a pass in preseason against an actual defense. Obviously, like, they had their joint practices and in training camp and stuff. But in terms of actual on the field and preseason games, the one drive that he had, he didn't actually throw a pass because he scrambled for the touchdown on the one pass play they called. So I think you could see that in the Giants game. He was a little bit off with his passes. He didn't drive over his front leg properly, and he was kind of fading away from throws, and that was causing him to be a little bit inaccurate, especially over the middle. I thought there was 4 or 5 plays that could have been really big explosive plays, and they could have put that Giants game to bed in the first half, and he consistently put the ball behind receivers. And sometimes they made the catch, sometimes they didn't because of the pass, but the ball was consistently behind them and it was stopping them from picking up yards after the catch. So that was an issue in that first game. That wasn't so much an issue in this game. He did seem to correct that a little bit, but I think he was potentially a little bit rattled by how the Packers were playing him, how aggressive they were. Obviously, the zone coverages and the way they disguise things, it takes a little bit to decipher. And when you've got Michael Parsons and that Packers defensive line coming at you so aggressively, and you're still trying to decipher what the coverage is behind it, it's really tough to deal with. It's a really tough test, and he struggled a little bit. And again, I think that comes down to a little bit of lack of reps, a little bit of lack of preparation. He's a guy that loves to have the week preparing and being in VR and seeing all the different looks and stuff. And when you're on a short week, you don't get as much time to do that. And so that probably plays into it a little bit. But I think he missed opportunities that he would normally make as well. There was quite a few, like those individual isolated routes on the outside, like Terry McLaurin running a comeback or Noah Brown running a curl. Like, those were things that were actually open a couple times. And if he was just playing on rhythm and timing, where he wasn't worried about the pass rush, I think he hits them. But I think he was a little bit sped up and hitting check downs or trying to scramble, and couldn't do it. And that was probably the biggest thing, was that he was struggling with the plays that he normally is so good with, those rhythm and timing routes where it's all about his drop, getting into rhythm, hitting the top of his drop, getting the ball out on time and being accurate. He just wasn't getting the ball out that quickly in rhythm. And then the other things that he usually is so good at is the clutch situations, third downs, fourth downs. He wasn't seeing the field clearly and finding the right read. He was there was the best example, I think, was there was a 4th and 7 where they actually converted because of a penalty, but they didn't actually convert on the field. It was a 6-yard gain. And he locked in on Zach Ertz running a kind of a stick route when he had Deebo Samuel directly underneath him running a choice route, and Samuel broke inside and was wide open over the middle, and he just locked in on Ertz and was like, it's 4th down, I'm going to Zach Ertz. And that's the kind of thing that he didn't do last year. He wouldn't lock in on a guy. He would be willing to find the open guy, especially in those clutch situations, and he struggled in that one. So I don't think it's this big, like, Jayden Daniels is regressing and he's terrible now, like some people are making out to be. I think it's, they've played 2 games in 4 days, and yeah, it wasn't the roughest. It was a bit of a rough start, but the Packers are a very, very good defense. They are supercharged right now from this Michael Parsons trade that has put them over the top from being a very good defense into an elite defense. And right now, you have very little film on what the Packers were going to do with Parsons, so it was tough to prepare for. Again, on a short week, you even had less time to prepare for it, even though there was little film to prepare because there was only the previous game that Parsons had played for them. So, and the Packers did, the zone stuff where they have eyes on Jayden Daniels, so it was tough for him to scramble and pick up much there. And obviously, Michael Parsons is this superb athlete that is one of the few guys in the league that can chase down Jayden Daniels when he's scrambling. So they did a lot of things that put him in tough spots, and he struggled. But I don't think it's the end of the world, as some people have been making it out to be.
More with Mark Bullock in moments, but if you are a Commanders fan, check out bgobsession.com, which is an outstanding site for Commanders conversation. BG Obsession, or BGO, has been going strong since 2009. No politics, just friendly and passionate discussion about the Commanders and more. Great contests, game day chats, and camaraderie. Both old school and new school fans are welcome. Visit and join BGO at bgobsession.com. bgobsession.com, home to your burgundy and gold obsession. We're talking with Commanders analyst Mark Bullock of Bullock's Film Room, which you can find at markbullock.substack.com. Jayden Daniels last season was so good against the blitz, but he, over the Commanders' first 2 games of this regular season, has not done well against the blitz. The win over the Giants, Daniels, per the NFL's next-gen stats, when blitzed, went just 3 for 9 for just 29 yards. The loss at the Packers, per the NFL's next-gen stats, blitzed Daniels 12 times, resulting in 7 pressures, 2 sacks, and Daniels going just 3 for 10. He had 0 scrambles against the blitz. What is standing out to you about Daniels against the blitz?
Yeah, I think there's 2 parts to it to me. There's one is that something he did really well against the blitz last year was run away from it and scramble. And in this game in particular, the Packers did a really good job of compressing the pocket and not giving him lanes to roll out. Like in the Giants game, you saw he was able to roll out to the right a lot. Like Tom Brady on commentary talked about how he was able to scramble to the right a ton and get away from that pressure and make plays off script that way. The Packers did a really good job containing him in the pocket. So they didn't give him lanes. And the times that he did feel like he could roll out, either Parsons was athletic enough to chase him down, or because the Packers were in zone, they had enough guys with eyes on him that they were able to quickly react and take away any lanes that he was going to run to anyways. So that was one of the big things, is he didn't have that ability with his legs to bail him out of situations the way he normally does. And that was credit to the Packers. They had a really good plan. And again, Michael Parsons is a freak. So that was a big part of it. But yeah, I think he felt a little bit like he wasn't trusting the protection. And understandably, I guess, when you have, Parsons against Connolly or Parsons against Coleman has really struggled, as I talked about earlier. Connolly's had some issues. And, Nick Allegretti, as much as I praised him, he's Nick Allegretti. He's not Sam Cosmi at right guard. So they were a little bit overrun at times. And I think you could see that Jayden wasn't necessarily trusting that protection. And that's one thing you need to do when you're facing the blitz, is you need to be able to trust that the guys are going to hold up for you to make the throws. But if you're... It's tough. I think people will read into it a little bit too much because it's early in the season, but I think it is just a case of they ran into a Packers team that is a very, very good defense, and they have a very tough front. supercharged, as I said, by Marco Parsons right now, that maybe it could be a similar thing to the Bucks last year, where the Bucks were a tough opponent in the playoffs, but when you've got the previous 18 weeks under your belt and you've built up a little bit more, you feel a little bit more confident in, Connolly will have developed, Coleman will have developed more, the offensive line's going to do better, you're going to have a second chance at a game plan with a full week to prepare. I feel like it's not time to overreact with this. I think it's just, short week and a very tough opponent.
The Commanders' number one receiver, Terry McLaurin, the recipient of a contract extension that was signed this past August 26 off, as we recall, quite the saga. McLaurin, over the Commanders' first 2 games of this regular season, has just 7 receptions for just 75 yards and no touchdowns on just 13 targets. Why is that?
So in the Giants game, it was more down to he was more of a distraction trying to take the top off, and they were hitting Debo, and Debo benefited from that, and Debo had a good performance, and they were using what Debo can do as a motion guy and I don't want to say gadget guy, but all the jet sweeps and end arounds and orbit motion stuff. That was their kind of focus on that game plan, and McLaurin was the guy to try to take the top off, but the Giants would stop that, and then that would open things up underneath for Debo and the other guys. So I think that worked just fine, and obviously they won the game, and Jayden missed 1 or 2 opportunities to Terry as well that could have bumped up that stat line. In the second game against the Packers, as I said, there was 1 or 2 opportunities where Terry had a couple of comebacks and curls off of those outside isolation routes, and Jayden didn't see it or was checking down quickly. So that was there, but they also, the Packers played a bunch of zone coverage, so they had constantly multiple guys around each receiver, and especially the real big issue for Washington is the Packers. Yes, they blitzed, but they were also just able to get pressure with their front 4. And if you're able to get pressure with your front 4 when you've got a guy like Michael Parsons, and then you're able to drop the rest of the 7 into coverage, Washington was then trying to help the offensive line with 2 chippers on both sides, or running back chipping and a tight end chipping. Suddenly you've only got 2 or 3 receivers actually running routes against 7 guys in coverage. It's pretty hard for those 2 or 3 receivers to get open. So it was a bad combination there. So I think that was kind of what played into it in that Packers game. I don't think Terry has regressed or anything like that. I think there were some signs in that first game where it was a little bit rusty. Like there was that double move to Terry where Jayden kind of overthrew him, and you could see that they hadn't necessarily had the work that they normally would have done. But in this game, in the Packers game, it was more that there was just a lot of coverage numbers, and it was tough for anyone to really create a ton of separation.
Commanders analyst Mark Bullock of Bullock's Film Room, which you can find at markbullock.substack.com. If you really want to understand what is going on with the Commanders on the field, read Mark's Substack. Mark, thanks, and we'll talk soon.
Of course, see you soon.
All right. The Terry McLaurin topic did come up during Dan Quinn's press conference on Monday afternoon. We, during that presser, had this back and forth between Commanders insider Howard Fenrich of the Associated Press and Quinn.
Hi, Dan.
Hi, Howard.
Wanted to ask you what you've thought of what you've seen from Terry McLaurin through 2 games, and how much is he still in the process of getting ramped up and ready to go after a shorter preseason?
Yeah, I think I'd love to see some of the plays that he's known for, Howard, where it's the downfield shots to go. We haven't connected on them. We've taken a couple of them. We thought we had one for sure. We just missed on the one against the Giants early on. I'm not sure if it was a double move, but we didn't hit it. And we took one last week. We didn't. We got to convert on those. That's kind of the superpower for him to get, the catch and run plays or the shots down the field. And we'll plan on working hard to do that. But no, we haven't hit those to the degree, Howard, that we need to. And we'll work hard to get that right for sure.
And on Terry, again, how much is, with him, part of the difficulty, the focus that other defenses are going to place on him each week?
Yeah, you do have to be ready for that. Not one team plays it exactly the same. And so if you're talking about like a double team, okay, how do you work yourself through that? Are they high and low, or is it inside out? If it's in and out, it's through the top. If it's a high-low, you can still work some things. So we do have to work through that. Fortunately, that's something that he has, become accustomed to. But the execution, that falls on all of us, Howard, the players, the coaches, all of us, to really nail that. And we definitely plan on doing that. But the attention that he gets garnered, I'd say it'll be similar, to what he has seen. And we're at our best when everybody's attacking. And so when we can get to that space, Zach, it's Debo, it's him, it's Noah, it's all the guys, that's when we really can be our most explosive. And we missed on that, and we missed the mark on that in this game. And, we don't plan on staying in that space.
I know that there has been some Terry McLaurin bashing with a slow start to this regular season. I get the sentiment, but there's a lot that has gone into his lackluster stats, as Mark Bullock just outlined. And keep this in mind, McLaurin over the Commanders' first 2 games of last regular season had lackluster stats, just 8 receptions for just 39 yards and no touchdowns on just 12 targets. And McLaurin over the Commanders' first 2 games of the 2023 regular season had lackluster stats, just 7 receptions for just 85 yards and a touchdown on just 10 targets. McLaurin, for whatever reasons, does not get off to great starts to regular seasons. The Nace Law Group, accident and injury lawyers, it will fight for you and win for you. Just recently, an $8 million jury verdict in Baltimore City Circuit Court in a case in which the Nace Law Group represented the family of a 42-year-old man who died after a simple procedure. Lead attorney Chris Nace, he is a big Commanders fan. He is a big supporter of this podcast, and his firm wins trials. If you have a case, contact the Nace Law Group. Call 202-902-7611 or visit Washington, D.C., injurylawyers.com and tell the Nace Law Group that Al Galdi sent you. The Nace Law Group is tremendous. It is a Washington, D.C.-based family law firm that handles medical malpractice, personal injury, birth injury, legal malpractice, and consumer protection cases, offering aggressive advocacy for victims in Washington, D.C. and West Virginia. Lead attorney Chris Nace is an experienced trial attorney who is not afraid to take cases to trials, and that's because the Nace Law Group wins trials. If you feel that you've been wronged, if you think that you've been wronged but aren't sure, contact the Nace Law Group and schedule a no-obligation appointment. Call 202-902-7611 or visit Washington, D.C., injurylawyers.com and tell the Nace Law Group that Al Galdi sent you. That's 202-902-7611 or Washington, D.C., injurylawyers.com and tell the Nace Law Group that Al Galdi sent you. The Nace Law Group, accident and injury lawyers. We have an update on the national search for a head of baseball operations. We on Tuesday night had reports that Chicago Cubs general manager Carter Hawkins no longer is a candidate. He is remaining as the Cubs GM. It's not clear whether this was his choice or the Nats' choice, but a guy who had been a candidate to be the Nats' next head of baseball operations now is out of the running. And these reports came toward the end of a lengthy day for the Nats, who got swept in a doubleheader against the Atlanta Braves at Nationals Park in games 2 and 3 of a 4-game series. Tuesday afternoon, a 6-3 loss to the Braves. Tuesday night, a 5-0 10-inning loss to the Braves in a game for which the start was delayed for 2 hours due to rain. A long day at Nationals Park. The Nats in MLB's 2025 regular season now are 62-90, worst record in the National League East, second worst record in the National League, third worst record in MLB, and the Nats now are 7 games behind the Braves for fourth in the NL East. Any realistic hope of the Nats not finishing last in the NL East may now be gone. A rough doubleheader for the Nats offensively. The 6-3 loss to the Braves in Game 1 of the doubleheader. The Nats scored just 3 runs, totaled 7 hits, worked 3 walks, went 2 for 5 with runners in scoring position, and struck out 12 times. So the 7 hits were a triple and 6 singles. The Nats got worked by Brave starting pitcher Jose Suarez. He allowed 2 runs in 7 innings with 9 strikeouts. James Wood Wood, a brutal game. He is the Nats starting DH and number 2 batter, went 0 for 5 with 4 strikeouts. The bright spot was Dalen Lyle. He is the Nats starting left fielder and number 4 batter, went 2 for 4 with a triple and a single. The triple was his 10th in this regular season, setting a new record for most triples by a Nationals rookie in a regular season since the franchise moved to Washington, D.C. in the 2004-2005 offseason. Lyle in a Nats 1-run 8th had a one-out triple to the right field corner on a 1-2 pitch. The 5-0 10-inning loss to the Braves in Game 2 of the doubleheader. The Nats offense was especially bad. The Nats scored no runs, totaled just 5 hits, worked no walks, and went 0 for 10 with runners in scoring position. All 5 of the hits were singles. The Nats got dominated by Braves ace Chris Sale. He tossed 8 scoreless innings with 9 strikeouts versus no walks. And Nats interim manager Miguel Cairo did not play left fielder James Wood or shortstop C.J. Abrams at all in the game. Dylan Cruz had 2 of the Nats' 5 hits. That was good. He is the Nats starting right fielder and number 2 batter, went 2 for 4 with 2 singles and a stolen base. And I do want to note this. James Wood for this regular season still is number 1 among all qualified Nats players in OPS 814, but the OPS of the surging Dalen Lyle at the major league level for this regular season now is 1 point less than Wood's, 813. Lyle for this month of September has an OPS of 1,246. He is on some kind of run. And Wood for this regular season now has an MLB worst 209 strikeouts. The MLB record for most strikeouts by a batter in a regular season is 223 by Mark Reynolds in 2009. Wood is just 14 strikeouts away from the record. He is not in a good place right now. This was Miguel Cairo during his post-game press conference on Monday afternoon on James Wood, and then you'll hear multiple follow-up exchanges.
We face another lefty, and, he want to play. But, they're pitching good. He just had to make some adjustment, and, we got two more weeks. So we got 2 more weeks to make some adjustment. He's not playing in the next game, so you just got to relax now, and we're going to see what we can do against Steele.
How much of that do you attribute to pitchers adjusting to him versus just some natural swing and miss in his bat?
I'm gonna tell you, this is the first time that he's played so much, and he's been playing a lot of outfield, DH. So you don't want to take him out of the lineup either, because he's a threat, and part of our offense. He's a threat to another team, with the bat, and this is good for him because he's learning how to play. For the whole full year in the big leagues.
It seems like the strikeouts are coming off against a lot of breaking balls and off-speed stuff. What are you seeing in his approach against those kind of pitches? I'm
gonna tell you, I keep saying to him, and I keep saying to everyone, he gotta stay with his approach. When he's doing good, he's left center. He's always from the middle to left center. That's when he's doing good. When he's in that alley right there, he recognized the breaking pitch better, and there's no fastball that can go by him. So, he just got to go back to the next 2 weeks, and he needs to go back to that approach.
The Nats starting pitching and the team getting swept by the Braves in this doubleheader on Tuesday was bad in Game 1, but good in Game 2. The 6-3 loss to the Braves in Game 1 of the doubleheader. Jake Irvin allowed 5 runs in 6 innings. He gave up 8 hits, which were 2 home runs, a double, and 5 singles. He issued 2 walks. He did record 5 strikeouts, and while he threw a lot of pitches, he did throw a lot of strikes, 102 pitches, but 67 strikes, 35 balls. So Irvin again got done in by an especially bad inning. All 5 of the runs that Irvin allowed came in the top of the 4th, during which he allowed 2 home runs, a double, and 2 singles. The homers came in back-to-back fashion with 2 outs, and each homer came on a 1-2 pitch. Jake Irvin now for this regular season, 31 starts, ERA of 5.76, second worst ERA among all qualified pitchers in the majors. And that starting pitcher, Mitchell Parker, has the worst ERA among all qualified pitchers in the majors, 5.85. And Irvin has allowed an MLB worst 35 home runs. The 5-0 10-inning loss to the Braves in Game 2 of the doubleheader. Mackenzie Gore was good for a second time in 2 starts in his return from the 15-day injured list. He tossed 5 1/3 scoreless innings with 5 strikeouts. He gave up just 2 hits, which were a double and a single. He issued 3 walks. He threw 92 pitches, 56 strikes, 36 balls. But very good to see Gore pitch as he did. He has looked sharp since coming off the 15-day IL. Here was Miguel Cairo during his post-game press conference on Tuesday night on Mackenzie Gore.
He pitched really well. He got in trouble in the first inning to throw a lot of pitches, but after that, he was dealing, 3 really, fight in 1/3. Keep us in the game. It was nice that he was good and he's healthy. That's the most important.
All right, Mackenzie Gore now for this regular season. 29 starts, ERA of exactly 4, a whip of 1.32, strikeouts per 9 innings of 10.39. Would love to see Gore finish this regular season with an ERA under 4. Hopefully he does that. The Nats relief pitching in the team getting swept by the Braves in this doubleheader on Tuesday was good in Game 1, but bad in Game 2. Although the bad in Game 2 really was about just one guy. The 6-3 loss to the Braves in Game 1 of the doubleheader. 3 Nats relievers combined to allow 1 run in 3 innings. P.J. Poulin tossed a scoreless top of the 7th, despite giving up a one-out double and then issuing a one-out walk. Orlando Rebalta allowed 1 run in 1 inning. He in the top of the 8th allowed a run on 3 singles. And Shinosuke Ogasawara tossed a scoreless top of the 9th. The 5-0 10-inning loss to the Braves in Game 2 of the doubleheader. 5 Nats relievers combined to allow 5 runs, 4 earned in 4 2/3 innings. Jackson Rutledge tossed 1 2/3 scoreless innings. Connor Pilkington tossed a scoreless and hitless top of the 8th. Jose A. Ferrer tossed a perfect top of the 9th on just 11 pitches. Mason Thompson officially allowed 5 runs, 4 earned in 1/3 of an inning. He in what ended up being a 5-run 10th for the Braves. Gave up a leadoff RBI double by Drake Baldwin off the right field warning track on a 1-2 pitch for a 1-0 Braves lead, and gave up a 1-out 3-run triple by Matt Olson down the right field line on an 0-2 pitch for a 4-0 Braves lead. And P.J. Poulin in that Braves 5-run 10th faced 3 batters and got 2 outs, one of which was an RBI sac fly for a 5-0 Braves lead. I do wonder why Miguel Cairo did not have Jose A. Ferrer pitch the 10th, off Ferrer having thrown just 11 pitches in that perfect top of the 9th. Maybe Ferrer isn't totally healthy right now, but he certainly looked healthy in that 9th inning. Game 4 for the Nats against the Braves at Nationals Park. Wednesday afternoon at 4:05. Brad Lord will be the Nats starting pitcher. The Orioles on Tuesday afternoon got back a key player, and on Tuesday night got a win, but also on Tuesday night got officially eliminated from postseason contention this season. An 8-7 win at the Chicago White Sox in Game 2 of a 3-game series. This was a game in which the O's overcame a 2-0 third-inning deficit, as the O's, Joe Angel, again, were in the win column.
And the Orioles again in the win column.
Yes, Joe, the win column. The O's in MLB's 2025 regular season now are 71-80, worst record in the American League East, but the O's are 55-46 since their 16-34 start. The White Sox in this regular season now are an American League worst 57-95. But the O's on Tuesday night were officially eliminated from playoff contention for this season, what has been a really disappointing season for the O's, due largely to injury, but also underperformance. The Nationals were officially eliminated from playoff contention for this season over the weekend, and the O's now have been officially eliminated from playoff contention for this season. During Orioles interim manager Tony Mansolino's postgame session with reporters on Tuesday night, had these exchanges, which happened shortly before the O's were officially eliminated from postseason contention for this season.
The Orioles are going to be eliminated from the postseason very soon, but they've had a really good month and continue to play hard. What do you think it says about this team that they continue to show up and fight every night?
We got rid of half the team on the trade deadline, and we've played one of the toughest schedules in baseball since, and we probably played close to 500 baseball with a lot of guys that were in Norfolk for most of the year. So I think that in and of itself speaks plenty of volumes for what we're doing.
Do you think this season the way it's gone will leave a bitter taste in some guys' mouths, maybe even in a good way, in a way that could fuel them for next year?
Yeah, yes, it already has. We've talked about it with these guys. They're not happy. You go through like the core group in there, they are miserable right now. This has been a complete failure in a lot of ways that we're at this point, that we are being eliminated from the playoffs, and there is a lot of motivation going forward, I promise you that.
All right, well, Jordan Westburg, he on Tuesday night as the Orioles starting DH and number 4 batter, went 0 for 3 with 2 walks as he is back. The O's on Tuesday afternoon announced having returned Westburg from his minor league rehab assignment and having reinstated him from the 10-day injured list. He had been on that since August 22nd, retroactive to August 19th. This due to a sprained right ankle. Westburg was on the 10-day IL from April 28th, retroactive to April 27th to June 10th. That due to a left hamstring strain. Also, the O's on Tuesday afternoon announced having designated infielder Emmanuel Rivera for assignment. A very good game offensively for the O's. 8 runs, 13 hits, which were 2 home runs, a triple, 4 doubles, and 6 singles, 4 walks, 3 for 10 with runners in scoring position. A number of key young Orioles players had good games. Dylan Beavers, he is the Orioles starting right fielder and number 5 batter, went 2 for 5 with a 2-run homer and an RBI triple. The O's on August 16th announced having selected the contract of Dylan Beavers from AAA Norfolk. He since then has the following stats: 101 plate appearances, OPS of 858. Samuel Basayo, he is the Orioles starting catcher and number 8 batter, went 1 for 4 with a 2-run homer. Kobe Mayo, he is the Orioles starting first baseman and number 7 batter, went 3 for 5 with a double and 2 singles. You know, a few weeks back I said that I wanted to see more of Kobe Mayo. We are seeing more of Kobe Mayo, and he's producing. Mayo for this month of September now has an OPS of 883. Gunnar Henderson, he is the Orioles starting shortstop and number 3 batter, went 3 for 5 with 2 RBI singles and another single. Henderson for this regular season is number 1 among all qualified Orioles players at OPS 788. Jeremiah Jackson, he is the Orioles starting third baseman and number 2 batter, went 2 for 4 with an RBI double, another double, and a walk. The O's past November 25th signed Jackson as a minor league free agent. They on July 31st recalled him from AAA Norfolk. He for the O's at the major league level in this regular season, 153 plate appearances, OPS of 803. The Orioles starting pitcher in this 8-7 win at the White Sox on Tuesday night was Dean Kramer. He pitched in a game for the first time since the Orioles a 2-1 walk-off win over the Los Angeles Dodgers at Oriole Park at Camden Yards on September 5th. Kramer in that game, 3 scoreless and hitless innings, 4 strikeouts versus 1 walk, but he left the game due to right forearm discomfort. Good to see him not go on an injured list. Good to see him pitching on Tuesday night, and he was solid. Kramer allowed 2 runs in 5 2/3 innings. He gave up 4 hits, which were a home run and 3 singles. He issued 3 walks and 2 wild pitches. He recorded 4 strikeouts. He threw 97 pitches, 58 strikes, 39 balls. Dean Kramer for this regular season, 29 games, including 28 starts, ERA of 4.39, whip of 1.26, a team-high 164 innings pitched. The biggest negative for the O's in this 8-7 win at the White Sox on Tuesday night was the relief pitching. 4 Orioles relievers combined to allow 5 runs in 3 1/3 innings, though 2 of the relievers did do well. Yaramil Geraldo tossed 1 1/3 scoreless and hitless innings with 2 swinging strikeouts. The O's on Monday afternoon announced having recalled Geraldo from AAA Norfolk. Chase McDermott, he officially allowed 4 runs in 2/3 of an inning. He and what ended up being a 5-run 8th for the White Sox, gave up 2 singles and issued a walk, 2 wild pitches, and a balk. He was a mess. So the O's on Monday afternoon announced having recalled McDermott from AAA Norfolk. Rico Garcia officially allowed 1 run in 1/3 of an inning, but he on the first pitch that he threw gave up a 2-out first pitch, 2-run homer by Andrew Benintendi to center field to cut the Orioles' lead to 8-7 in the bottom of the 8th. But Keegan Aiken tossed the scoreless bottom of the 9th with 2 swinging strikeouts for the save. The guy who stands out is Chase McDermott. The O's got McDermott on August 1st, 2022, and they're trading of outfielder/first baseman Trey Mancini to the Houston Astros in a 3-way trade that also included the Tampa Bay Rays. The O's received 2 pitchers, Seth Johnson from the Rays and Chase McDermott from the Astros. McDermott at the time of the trade was the Astros' number 12 overall prospect per MLB Pipeline, but his stock has fallen. He's now a reliever, and Tuesday night, a bad night. Also, the O's on Tuesday afternoon announced having option reliever Grant Wolfram to AAA Norfolk on Monday night. Game 3 for the O's at the White Sox Wednesday afternoon at 2:10. Tyler Wells will be the Orioles starting pitcher. And that'll do it for you and me for now. Keep the feedback coming. You can hit me up on X at Al Galdi. You can email me the Al Galdi podcast at yahoo.com. Thursday's show, episode 1158, will provide you with more on the Commanders. Also on Thursday's show, I'll talk Nationals and Orioles. The Nats are home to the Atlanta Braves Wednesday afternoon at 4:05 in Game 4 of a 4-game series. The O's are at the Chicago White Sox Wednesday afternoon at 2:10 in Game 3 of a 3-game series. Have a great rest of your Wednesday, and I'll talk to you on Thursday.
Pride was the motivating factor for the Redskins. They didn't forget the beating they took from the Eagles in November. Now, in January, when it mattered most, it was time for Redskins style to shine.
The action fake again by Rippon. Good protection. Lobs it in the end zone for Monk. Jumping, catching, touchdown, Washington Redskins.
Yeah, baby!